Hey folks, I'm back with another Toasty tip video, and this time I'm explaining the solution to the Visa ticket puzzle in the demo for Dimhaven Enigmas, an upcoming first-person puzzle adventure game from the makers of Kern. You encounter this puzzle at the end of the current demo, and there are two ways to solve it, so I'm going to explain both of them for anyone who found it difficult. Rule number one for any puzzle is to make sure you have all of the information available to you before trying to solve it, because you can waste a lot of time trying to figure something out only to realize that you were missing a key component. For this puzzle, you need a few things: your passport and Visa ticket, which you're guaranteed to have, other Visa tickets, which can be found on the desk, in the drawer, on the pegboard, and on a nearby box, Visa applications, which you'll find in a locked filing cabinet, and a note with the locked combination, which you'll find in a coat pocket past this area. The goal of the puzzle is to use the information you have to create your own Visa ID number, so let's get into how. The first method is what I'll call pattern recognition. You don't need any external information for this one, you just need to find patterns in front of you. Bonus tip: always keep a pen and paper with you when playing puzzle games of this type, because while screenshots and in-game recording systems are great for tracking information, some puzzles are much easier to figure out when you draw them. Looking at your Visa ticket, there are two clues: the red numbers on the left and the dots on the right. They don't mean anything by themselves because you can't establish a pattern with one thing, so let's look at the other tickets. Each of them has a different red number and different dots. That tells you that those numbers and dots are unique to those tickets. While some puzzles are straightforward, others require you to understand how you're supposed to approach them, and a good designer provides you with a hint that tells you how. Otherwise, you'll try to piece things together in the wrong way. One of the tickets has that hint. It shows the number 4 with arrows pointing at the dots, and the dots are outlined in squares. That tells you a few things. The dots probably represent numbers, the numbers are probably sectioned off in 2x2 squares, and both of the squares it's pointing to probably represent the number 4. Here's where drawing comes in. If you look at the ticket closely, the dots are punched into little boxes and the grid is 4x8. You may need to zoom in here because the quality of the image makes it look like there's an extra row of boxes on the ticket, so it'd be nice if the developer cleaned that up, but if you draw the pattern, it should look like this. Since the numbers are probably sectioned off in 2x2 squares, you can start by outlining all of the squares. Now you have 8 of them, and if each of those squares represents a single number, then the full number has 8 digits. I say if and probably because at this point you have a theory, but you haven't proven it yet. That's where the other tickets and applications come in. Now I do want to point out that this pattern is a great example of how external factors can influence the way you view a puzzle. As an American and native English speaker, I tend to read and perceive things from left to right, top to bottom. So when I decided that this was a number, I naturally assumed that the order of the digits would go like this: 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. But if you're from a culture that reads in a different direction, or if you just happen to view shapes and patterns differently, you might assume it's a different order. Why not a U shape, or zigzagging from left to right? Fortunately, the developer highlighted 2 squares, and the location of those squares hints at the correct order of the digits, which you'll see in a bit. Now we have the applications in the locked drawer. If you weren't able to figure out the combination from the note you found in the coat pocket, you have to match the locations hinted at on top with their corresponding numbers on the chart in the office. The lock requires 4 numbers, and the hint references 4 locations, but each location's number has 2 digits. So how do you figure out which of the 2 digits you're supposed to use? Well, which half of each location's name does the hint reference? That tells you which of the 2 numbers you need. Bonus tip: if a puzzle game gives you a camera mechanic where it stores the pictures you take a picture of everything, or at least everything the game allows you to examine. It'll spare you a lot of angry backtracking. The one issue I found with that here was that the applications were much fainter and more difficult to read in the pictures, so maybe the developer can adjust those images for clarity. You're in the office anyway though, so you can just view them in the cabinet. Looking at the applications, each one has a number that matches the red numbers on the tickets. There are 7 applications, but you only have 4 tickets besides your own, so you should probably only worry about the 4 applications that match. Starting with the application that matches the ticket with the hint, ticket 00065. Since you know that the dots on the ticket probably represent a number, and it probably has 8 digits, the first thing you should do is check the ID number on the application. It has 8 digits, followed by a dash and 2 more, so you're probably on the right track. You just need to test it. Does the ID number match the dots on the ticket? You already know from the hint that the pattern starts with the number 4. Going in order from left to right, top to bottom, like I said, would make this number 4 as well, just like in the hint. So far, so good. But what about the numbers at the end? Checking the location chart again, the number matches Vargas, and Vargas is listed as the city of departure on the application. Now that you have all of that information, you can confirm that your theory is right by checking the other applications with matching tickets to see if their ID numbers and locations line up too, which they do. From there, all you need to do is take the number each square represents and match them with the dots on your own ticket to find your 8 digits. And as for your city of departure, where would you logically find that information? Your passport, which says that you flew in from Udengrad, location number 5. So your ID number is 35856392-05. Bonus tip, when faced with a code or other input of an unknown length, just enter anything until you receive an error or some other reaction to figure out how many characters or digits there are supposed to be. You can enter 11 characters on the typewriter before it prints out a visa, so that's probably how long whatever you're entering needs to be. And the ID number you just figured out has 11 characters, 8 digits plus the dash plus the location number. Now I'm aware that this is the kind of puzzle you can easily overthink, spending ages chasing clues that aren't relevant, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who wondered at first if there might be some correlation between the numbers and the reason for visiting or the dates of birth. So my last tips for puzzle games are to consider the simplest explanations first, to remember what you were already shown, and to focus on what you have instead of what you don't. The better the puzzle design, the less you'll need to go out on a limb to solve it. At least that's been my experience. But that was just the first method, which is pattern recognition, like I said, with a bit of logic thrown in. The second method is outside knowledge, because you need information found outside of the game to solve it. I consider that to be bad puzzle design when it's the only method of solution, but when it's just an alternative method like it is here, it's fine. In this case, the outside knowledge you need is the binary system found in computing, or exponents and the powers of 2 found in math, neither of which I'm going to explain. You just need to recognize the pattern where each number is double the number that came before it. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. Of course, someone with that sequence fresh enough in their mind to even think about it might have guessed the solution to this puzzle just by seeing a 2x2 square with the number 4 in it. But it would just be a guess, because again, one item alone doesn't establish a pattern. If this is all you see, it could just as easily be written this way as that. So this method still requires you to follow the hint to the matching application. The difference is that once you have that set of 8 digits, you don't need the rest, because that number, combined with the outside knowledge of the powers of 2, tells you exactly which number each dot represents, allowing you to figure out which number each square represents using addition. This is 4 because there's only one dot where the 4 goes. This is 3 because there's a dot for the 1 and a dot for the 2. Add them and you get 3. This is 1 because there's only a dot for 1. This is 2 because there's only a dot for 2. This is 6 because there's a dot for 2 and 4, and 2 plus 4 equals 6. This is 7 because there's a dot for 1, 2, and 4, which added together is 7. Back to 4 again, and the last one is 0 because there are no dots. Once you understand that math, you can look at the dots on your own Visa ticket and determine the 8 digits. No further cross-referencing required. So that's how you solve the Visa ticket puzzle, and while I didn't feel the need to explain any of the other puzzles in the demo, feel free to leave a comment if you're struggling with one of them, and I'll try to guide you in the right direction. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if it helped you out to help me out, and I'll see you folks in Dimhaven.